Mining Affected Communities United in Action Executive Director Christopher Rutledge joins us now for more. Christopher, very good evening to you and thank you so much for your time. So the Human Rights Commission is hosting those community engagements around that national inquiry into the policy framework for artisanal mining. But your organization has said that the Human Rights Commission is not fulfilling its mandate. In fact, saying the failure to protect artisanal miners in Stilfontein shows that it's toothless and needs an overhaul to address structural weakness.
Yeah, thanks, Katlego. Thanks for having us and thanks for framing the question. Look, it saddens us that we have to ventilate some of our concerns with the Human Rights Commission. We know that they are a group of people who are trying their best under very difficult circumstances. They come under criticism from all corners. And we sympathize with them. But, you know, it is a structural problem within South Africa, which I think, as much as we like the people at the Human Rights Commission, the structural problem within the Human Rights Commission is something that needs to be addressed. The Stilfontein hearings certainly brings that structural deficiency into the center of our focus and hopefully the focus of the nation, because I think it's absolutely critical. We are very concerned that we say almost 100 people died, you know, during that Stilfontein massacre. We are very concerned that when the massacre was unfolding and when we were shouting and screaming and going to the courts for help to stop the massacre, the Human Rights Commission was essentially silent. They were on the scene. They didn't insist upon using their statutory provisions in order to make sure that the human rights of people were not violated. In fact, they just stood back. Then, after people were rescued through the efforts of civil society, the Commission then announced that they would have a hearing. Couple of months later, even at that time, we said it's unacceptable to have a hearing about such a disastrous massacre, such a monumental watershed moment in our democracy, in which the state has murdered poor working class people. It is unacceptable to have a hearing on that magnitude of a massacre 2 or 3 months later. But here we are, almost a year later now, since this crisis in Stilfontein started, and we are only now having hearings. But not are we only late to the hearing. The way that the hearings have been structured, the framework under which has been structured, as you heard the Commissioner just say now, they are looking to use this as some form of effort to say, let's fix the policy. Now, we agree with that. But fixing the policy is not enough. We cannot allow a situation where the state massacres people in the way that they did, using starvation, and then nobody stands accountable for it. Now, that is a failure of our democracy. It's a failure of our constitution. It must stand as an indictment. You know, as we now, as people, are facing that flotilla in Palestine, we are here facing the same kind of thing, but at the reverse end. Our state is also complicit in these kind of actions which violate human rights, and we cannot just reduce this to policy. So that's our concern with the Commission. Like we say, we know they have difficulties, but they have a mandate. Even in the terms of references they've structured it, they don't say that we are here to hold people to account. They say we are here to try and develop better policy. It's unacceptable. It's not acceptable. And we as society, every freedom-loving, constitutional person in this country who values our constitution, who values that we fought and people died for this constitution, we cannot let this moment pass without some accountability being directed at those who willingly and knowingly massacred people. And we presented the evidence to the Commission. They have it. It's there. It's on record. The state lied in courts. They knowingly massacred these people, and now nobody seems to want to hold them to account. And our Human Rights Commission is our last hope, and they are essentially not stepping up to the challenge, unfortunately.
I mean, you speak about the accountability that needs to take place for the many lives that were lost, especially at that Stilfontein situation earlier this year. And the mission of the Human Rights Commission at this point in time is to enhance the framework and the policies so that future events of such a nature do not take place. Do you feel that it's not a time for us to be looking at policy at this point in time over the accountability?
No. We're 100% in agreement. The policy is a problem. In that, we are absolutely in agreement with the Commission. The policy is a problem. In fact, we have submitted as part of our documents to the Commission, we've shown how the Commission held similar hearings, similar hearings in 2015 and 2016, in which around this question of mining and artisanal mining. And they made recommendations to the state to say, you need to do certain things. Now, we've given a report to the Commission now as part of this process, which says that the recommendations that the Commission made to government in 2015, from the 2015 and 2016 hearings, has not been implemented. None of them have been implemented. In fact, quite the reverse has happened. The Minister, Gwede Mantashe, has, in March of this year, made amendment proposals which further walks away from the recommendations that the Commission made back in 2015 and 2018. Now, that's our big problem. We're saying the Commission is toothless because it has the power to hold these people to account, but it doesn't use it. And that's the problem. So what's the use of having hearing after hearing where you're telling the government what they are doing is wrong, but they simply ignore you? That means the Human Rights Commission is toothless. It means that it has no place in our democracy. Because one of the strangest things has emerged, the ability of the Commission to make binding recommendations has been challenged in court, and it's currently before the Constitutional Court. Now, we say that that is absolutely crazy, that you can have a public protector as a Chapter 9 institution that is essentially tasked with protecting the resources of the state, protecting the, making sure that there's no corruption and that people are following processes within the state correctly. But when it comes to human lives, now suddenly that Chapter 9 institution doesn't have the right to make binding recommendations. I mean, that is absolutely backward. It says that our state is more interested, our constitutional state is more interested in protecting money and property than it is in protecting human life. Now, that is a fundamental constitutional injustice. Now, either the Constitutional Court needs to fix that or Parliament needs to fix it. But we know Parliament won't fix it because Parliament are as much in collusion with mining companies as the senior politicians are. And this, as we put to the Commission today, is part of the problem. Our government is so highly involved in both illegal criminal syndicates and legal syndicates. Legal syndicates being organizations like the Minerals Council and mining companies who essentially influence government in absurd ways, using their money as leverage. And unless we fix that, we're going to constantly come up against this problem of the state killing people, criminalizing people and killing people in order to protect the interest of the few. And that is a problem. That is a rot that sits in the heart of our state. And if an organization like the Human Rights Commission cannot face that kind of challenge head on, then maybe it's not the right organization. Maybe we need to rethink the Human Rights Organization. And we have to make sure that our Constitution has got the weaponry, the arsenal to protect us against this ongoing collusion to impoverish people and to steal from the state and from people.
Right. So, Christopher, I mean, you make mention of this alleged rot and the collusion. And in the midst of all of this, what would you say are the low-hanging fruits that would give the most effective strategies for formalizing the artisanal mining operations?
We have made a number of submissions, and we've been working we've been trying to work with the government since as far back as 2015, and the government is not listening. So fastest way is government listens to the people, understands the problem, and we find a solution together. That's the fastest way. But let's take that out of the equation, because our government is too arrogant to listen to the people. So maybe the next best thing then is for the commission to make another finding, and that gets put onto a rack and it gathers dust and so on. Look, it's very difficult for us to say. There are simple solutions. There is a amendment proposal on the table for the MPRDA. We say strengthen that, but you've got to make it so that it is not a fool's errand. The way that the Department of Minerals have set up the current proposals, it makes it impossible for artisanal miners to ever become artisanal miners legally. So they make it's an impossible task, because you cannot ask some poor person that is struggling in a community with no resources to go and do a full-on environmental assessment, impact assessment on the area that he wants to mine. It's simply crazy. Now, that's how the DMPR sets up the legislation. It says you can be an artisanal miner. So they come to South Africa and they tell everybody, no, we're going to solve the problem. We've got a way to get people into artisanal mining. It's not true. It's a lie. And if they can fix that, if they can work with civil society, work with communities to fix that loopholes and to find a real way to bring people into the economy, then we have a chance. But with our current government, its arrogance and its ties to big business, it's going to be almost impossible, and that's the problem.
Right.
We're going to have to sort out our government.
All right, Christopher Rutledge, we certainly do hope that the inquiry that's taking place on the ground over the next few days will yield some of those results in ensuring that there is a true listening ear and we do find a way forward when it comes to artisanal mining. Thank you so much for your time and for joining us this evening.